And we are live. Two Star Trek RIPs, Robert and Steven. Yep, this week on Trekland Tuesdays Live, number 332. Coming at you right here with Dr. Trek, Larry Nemecek, out of Portal 47, out of the heart of Trekland, including Trekland Treks, for some sanity, clarity, and the big picture in all things Star Trek. And it's a busy day for me, busy day in Star Trek, although Star Trek as a whole seems to be kind of settling in a little bit. Hope everybody is doing well. Hey, if you are new to TTL, check out the chat. We've got a wonderful community there. We are global. This time of day, folks are all over the world and they are popping in. It's great to see everybody. Hey, I've just got a short and sweet one this week. You won't care watching this later, but tonight is the big open house, our 8th anniversary open house for Portal 47. And I'm really excited because our guest tonight is, boom, the one and only Nick Meyer. I do this open house with a special guest and a sample of our version of the roundtable, Ask Dr. Trek Roundtable. It's free to the public. It's a sample to show you how the portal works. And you know what? The world has come a long way in 8 years. I started this in 2015 and people were like, now, how does this work? We're past that. So it's still an insight, my passion to bringing fandom, the behind the scenes creatives, the people who don't get noticed. And if they do get noticed, they sure don't get talked to in detail because it's all the Star Trek you have no idea that you have no idea about. It's like a con. It's like a mini con all year long. And all the package is climaxed every month by our guest night and then also by our roundtables. So this is the big annual throw the doors open. It's free to everybody to come in, take a sample, and maybe get aboard. We'll have some specials. We'll have door prizes. I've got books, DVDs. All of that is happening. And the cutoff is in just a couple of hours, okay? So just to remind everybody, boom, this is where you can go. There we are. And you can go and get your virtual ticket. It's free. You're in line for the drawings. You're in line to submit pre-questions early. And of course, you're there for a head count. So if you haven't done it yet, do it by 4. I'll cut that off by 4 so I can load up the random picker and all that. But it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have Nick on live at 7 Pacific, 10 Eastern. But an hour before that, at 6 Pacific and 9 Eastern. And yeah, Europeans, you're welcome to join if you want to stay bleary-eyed, and some have before. We're going to have a sample Ask Dr. Trek Roundtable, especially it's basically an open mic night. And I will lead that. I'll throw some crumbs out to everybody to get everybody started, and we'll see what happens. Then we will mute everybody at 7 and bring Nick on for an hour. Can't wait for it. This is we do this every year. It marks the anniversary of Portal. I can't believe I've had Portal for 8 years. Finally doing Star Trek background and doing a business that I've put together on my own. And at least now we don't have to pioneer Zoom and we don't have to pioneer everybody having good web cameras because everybody does that. Anyway, that is tonight. So it's kind of a last call to go over and get your tickets here at Portal 47 LarryNemecek.com/openhouse23. Okay. But today, let's bop back to what's going on today. And first off, I do want to say thank you also to our Patreons. And also just a reminder that if you are planning your trip to LA, Trekland Treks will bring Star Trek Alive. It'll be your own customized away mission. You set it up with my help, and then I'm your concierge driver, prop wrangler, costume holder, whatever you need to make it a memorable day when you're here in LA, sometime over the winter. You know, we have great winter weather. It's raining today finally, but most of the time, the odds are good that you will make your winter trip, escape your climb, and come to LA, have a great time. And one of the days, or maybe 2, we will set you up with a wonderful customized away mission just for you. So think about that as we head into the holidays and as we look ahead at all these weeks of no new fresh Trek. And as we wonder who will be next, right? Will it be Discovery first, or will it be Prodigy over on Netflix? giving us our first new Trek. But it's going to be after the year. It's now through the holidays. And as we figure out what to do with our Trek and how to merge that with the holidays, this last week has presented us with a couple of moments to pause and reflect on a couple of those that made Star Trek what it was. And they were totally different birds to me. And if you're on my Instagram, and I hope you are, I had to get on, of all things, Sunday while I was on the road and say a few words about, yes, Robert Butler, or Bob Butler, as I was privileged to call him the last few years. One of those names that you read about in your Star Trek history, that if you came up with the making of Star Trek or wherever you came in, he has a claim to fame as no other. He was the first Star Trek director because he directed The Cage, the first pilot. And a lot of people used to be dismissive of The Cage. I mean, you get it. Oh, it's where no man has to come from somewhere, right? But people were dismissive of The Cage because, well, it wasn't Kirk. Anyway, you know what? History has been kind to Pike and Number One, and even Veen and the Telosians. They are vibrant parts of the whole Star Trek ethos. And so, even though it's recast, even though it's 40, 50 years difference in TV technology, some of those basic instincts that, yes, Robert Butler brought to directing The Cage are still with us today. And that is why, speaking of Portal 47's open house, Bob Butler was my very first open house guest back in 2016, back as we were all goo-goo over the 50th anniversary, and I thought he would be a perfect guest. Now, at the time, he passed away about a week ago, at the age of 95. So what was that, 7 years ago? He was 88, and he was wonderful on camera. We talked. He told stories. But the thing about Robert Butler, and this is what comes through, what I'm trying to get across, it's not just the recite the facts and talk about the people. His whole attitude was reflective of what he enjoyed doing in his TV directing career, which was filming pilots. It's like he got to film little 1 hour and sometimes 2 hour movies on a TV schedule, TV budget, TV pressure, and then move on. He didn't just, if you were the one who directed the pilot of all Star Trek in the beginning, that would be something to notch your resume. But Robert Butler also, talk about setting a tone and a mood. Robert Butler directed the pilot for Batman, Batman 66, yes. He directed Hill Street Blues, right? The first ensemble show that, I mean, you had to juggle that. But Stephen Bochco, he directed the pilot for Hogan's Heroes, which was a sitcom, but still Nazi prison camp as a sitcom. Yeah. What else? He directed the pilot from Moonlighting, right? Launched some careers there, as well as that whole genre of tongue-in-cheek detective, will they, won't they, couples sexual chemistry detective romp, and set off that genre. Robert Butler was around for some amazing television to kick it off, and then never went back to touch it again. Not Star Trek, not Batman, not Moonlighting. Oh, he co-created Remington Steele, speaking of detective pairs. So the guy had a full career. Some things you've never heard of, but a lot of he more than made his mark. But his whole attitude was he didn't care to go back and reinvent it. He'd been there, done that, and he moved on. He was invited to direct Where No Man's Gone Before. That's some hard-won experience the whole crew got. And he said, no, thank you. I'm off to do something else. So amazing that way. And as the years passed and Star Trek blew up, he didn't care to pursue it. He was busy with his career. He had done one, the very early one. And as a lot of Hollywood folks think, they think, oh, that's a million years ago. They don't get what if something is going to attract a legacy, it happens. Then once it does, some Hollywood folks never realize that until someone has to show them, or they get burned and they walk away, or they think it's so old no one cares anymore. A lot of people from the original series era and the movie era have this, until you go and show them, they have no clue about Ralph Sininsky, the director, was burned from being fired wrongly, wasn't his fault, on the Tholian web, but had no clue of all of us out here in the woodwork and what we thought. And that was a little bit about Robert Butler. So about the time of the 50th, I had reached out to him. He also sat down to do some recording for the Roddenberry Vault about the same time. And I think between the two of those, we got him warmed up a little bit. And I was so thrilled that he did some other documentaries, maybe a podcast or two, I don't know. Certainly some legit documentaries. And then by 2019, the year before the pandemic, the last normal Comic-Con we had in San Diego, his son, Rob, cooperated to bring him down to San Diego. We got him in on a Sunday early, came up. I love the pictures we did. And we basically had a live 45, 50-minute session with Robert Butler. And I know that room held 420 folks. It was a standing room only. People were turned away at the door, even though it was early Sunday afternoon of Comic-Con. I am so thrilled that so many people just were on cloud nine from seeing a direct link to the cage, to the beginning with all Star Trek. It all stemmed from there on the screen. And to hear Robert Butler take credit, not take credit, talk about his differences with Gene and anybody else on the crew. Not ridiculous. The guy was too much of a gentleman to be that, but the creative differences, and to shrug his shoulders and say, okay, I was wrong on that one. He didn't care. He wasn't in love with it. He did it. He wanted to make the best show he could and launch the series. And he didn't care that it didn't sell. He didn't care about a second chance. He didn't care about coming back while the series was on. He had done it and he moved on. And he talked about that whole attitude too. So I'm just saying, it's been a gift. It's been an absolute gift that for all these years in between, when he wasn't in the mood or when we weren't fit, when we weren't there, surely he did some interviews over the years, but here in the era of everybody's got a YouTube show on their laptop, everybody's got a podcast, the fact that we got him down to talk about some of these facts and with a modern sensibility, because we got to talk about that too. The casting, it just turned out that basically he didn't care about the brewing money problems. He didn't care that Major was really Gene's mistress. He didn't care about a lot of things. He was just there to do the product, to do the piece the best he could. And he took great pride in that. And he took great pride in all the shows that he did, the pilots that he launched, the franchises and series that he launched, among a lot of other ones that weren't nearly as infamous. He won an Emmy for a show not really, Robert Holden did television, The Blue Knight, a cop show. Did that pilot and won an Emmy for it. That was Robert Butler. And I was just so glad that I got to interact with him some and have direct conversations. I'm so glad that we were able to get him on Portal and then get him live. I'm so glad that he got out to some other situations where he was recorded for the long haul, the duration. And to this day, if you go over and sign up for my mail list, my poor underappreciated mailing list that I don't do enough. But when you do sign up, you get some free gifts. And the audio of Robert Butler is one of the free gifts you get when you sign up to this day. It's just amazing talking to him. What was surprising after that was the other end of the spectrum. It turns out that writer Stephen Kandel passed away in October. The news did not get out until just a few days ago. Stephen Kandel, of course, if nothing else, again, longtime career writer, but for our purposes, the guy who invented Harry Mudd. And you could say, yeah, along with actor Roger C. Carmel. But Stephen Kandel wrote Mudd's Women. Now, it was off a premise in Gene's original pitch packet. And it was one of the 3 scripts written for the second pilot when NBC gave Gene a second chance, Gene and Desilu. And it was just called The Women. And it wasn't about pimping prostitutes. It was about wiving settlers, which was amazing because not more than 3-4 years later, ABC would have a dramedy called Here Come the Brides about the brides that were sent around the horn from Massachusetts of their own volition for all the lumberjacks in New Seattle, territorial Seattle in the late 1800s, all men, no women. They wanted to settle and civilize the place and settle down and have wives and husbands and families and start settling the place. Make it more than just a work camp. And that's what Harry Mudd was, the Mudd's Women was based on. And then the marriage of Roger C. Carmel and the character led it to being really the first recurring guest star, since Mark Leonard didn't get to play the Romulan commander again and didn't get a chance to play Sarek again, but it feels like it because he played two great parts. These actors that played two different roles, like Dan and Muldur. But no, one of the few times that we had any recurring actors out of the original 79 hours, and it was Roger Carmel and Harry Mudd. That's Stephen Kandel. Now, it was a happy accident, the rewrite process. The Mudd of Mudd's Women is a lot different than the Mudds of I Mudd. There's a lot of more sinister going on with Mudd's Women that isn't quite there. I Mudd is a little bit more of a farce, sure. And then, of course, yes, he did sell two more for the... He actually pitched two Mudd stories. We got Mudd's Passion on the animated series. One called Mud, A Deep Mud, was about one that was literally on a muddy planet that, anyway, really took it to the thing. And then, oddly enough, he sold a script for the animated series near the end called The Jihad, which at a time when no one knew what that was in 1973, most Americans had not heard that term. But he sold that one. It was a quest. It was a good old quest story with a religious war component to it, was the threat. So, yes, here's the thing. I came to Star Trek professionally with Next Generation. And anything I got to do with the original series era was backtracking, was I get a chance to do that. But we were so full of Next Gen and DS9 and Enterprise and Voyager for so long until everything dried, everything shut down and went dry in 2005. But the first 10, 15 years I was active here, I would have loved to have been able to do more. I never got a chance to meet Stephen Kandel. I've just realized later his career slowed. He'd been active for 20, 30 years, but when things slowed down for him in the 80s, early 90s, he moved east and lived around the New York area and the East Coast. So he wasn't hanging around out here, not going to cons, not making himself available easily. He wasn't easily found. And to be honest, the last 5, 10 years, I wasn't even thinking about him being with us still. So bad on me. I would have loved to have called, tracked him down, Zoomed. And I think there were some in recent years. He wrote a parody satirical piece during the Trump years about President Trump. So he was still with us and blowing and going a little bit. But no, he passed away 2 or 3 weeks ago in late October, and word just came out, which reminds me a lot of what happened with Harv Bennett. He was in a small town in the Northeast, and the world was not set up to automatically ping a bell in LA whenever some former person with Hollywood TV credits and film credits passes away. That happened with Harv Bennett. It took a week for the word to get out. People didn't just jump up and immediately call the trades. And that's apparently what happened with Stephen Kandel. And whereas Robert Butler's passing was pretty much instantaneous, was announced, was out there with friends, Stephen Kandel, not so much. And of course, they have one's a writer, one's a director. One is involved with all these series and franchises in this niche that he did. I'm the pilot director. That was almost his calling card. And for what? The 60s, the 70s, and the 80s, if that's what you were about, then you might want to call Rob Butler to launch your show, especially if you were going for a new tone, a new edge, and he was good about wiping the slate clean and coming up with something that everybody else could run with as he moved on. Different story there than the Stephen Kandel writer story. But for us here in Trekland, looking at the scope, it's interesting how sometimes we have people passing. They always say people die in threes. I don't know who our third would be for Trek World. But it didn't surprise me to find out, A, oh, he was back east. And then B, this is why he hadn't been in our faces. Aside from the fact that he was 96, both these gentlemen had wonderfully long lives. And again, I didn't get to talk to Stephen Kandel, but I consider it such a blessing that here at just the last 5, 6, 7 years, Bob Butler was still sharing with fans, even to a point where he had never thought about it before this time of his life. It's almost like he was thinking, okay, fine. You Trekkies aren't going to go away. What do you want to know? It's been interesting. And again, in my case, thanks to his son, Rob, for making that possible. So I just want to make sure everybody heard the news, most of all, and was familiar with, what people had done. And apparently it's a rare thing to find photos of Stephen Kandel. People are scrambling to get it, but I see Memory Alpha's got one up here from the pool in the 70s, 80s, whatever that is. Yeah. So just have a care, have a moment this week to think of 2 more Star Trek RIPs that we've lost this week. Robert Butler and Stephen Kandel. And if you hear anybody revising the folk wisdom here about Harry Mudd, please don't let yourself be caught up thinking that Harry Mudd was a pimp. Harry Mudd was doing the settler's wife thing at a time when Star Trek was talking about the final frontier, literally. And of course, we know that in Roger Carmel's hands, and then in Rainn Wilson's hands later, Harry Mudd lives just fine. All right. That's going to be my comment today. I was looking for a little bit shorter, sweeter time, but do want to end it there. We'll see what everybody's got going on chat. I hope everybody jumped in and has had a good time. I do, of course, want to mention a thank you to our TTLers. Can I do that? Yes, indeed. So thank you, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne-Marie Siegel, Justin Porteous, Galinda Bruton, Chris Jiggins, Pranakasha Productions, Comedy Forecast, and Andrew Jasimski. And our live wires, Robert McLean, Byron Bailey, J.R. Poole, Halbjörn Gunjansson, Alan Hoensi, Dave Gregory, Tobias Rex, Danya S. Runyon, and Casey Shafsky. Thank you guys so much for guys, gals, and peeps for that. Of course, everybody can jump in on my simple little Patreon. It's just $5 and $10 a month. Patreon.com/Trekland Live for a shout out and for access to our early years of Portal 47 guest stars, biographies, our creatives behind the scenes. And you know what? I'm talking about Nick Meyer. I talked about having Robert Butler. Those were our open house guests. And I try to have a really, really cool premium guest to have folks be attracted from the mainstream world and come into Trek and go, wow, because we are trying to give people a sample. It's an open house. We want people to come inside and maybe jump in the portal with us. It would be great. We've got such a wonderful community, but we have guests all year long, right? Portal 47 is a mini con all year long. I laugh about how there is no such thing as the post-con blues with Portal. Look at this. If you ever catch me at the con table here, like Mike McMahon, also open house guest 2 years ago, and Renee Echeverria, but we've got people from all the walks. This is a fraction when you're monthly for 7 years. Whoa. And this is one of the things I'm proudest about with Portal. I will even take credit for warming a few people up to get up their nerve, to get them out of retirement and go talk to another documentary at times. That's happened with a few people. But mostly it's just good to get those stories out, get those insights, and get the memories of people who are no longer with us shared. Some people never had a chance. Just anytime I can get somebody to talk about Gene Kuhn, who died in 1973 and missed all of this. I mean, even original generation fandom missed. So many others. And that's why I looked for 10 years what would finally become Portal 47. And I'm so glad we were finally able to with help, entrepreneur coach help, to put that together. Thank you, Melissa. To put that together and have something that shares. And I know the world has caught up now with virtual fandom a lot and virtual panels, but still finding these people and getting them out. And not just to folks from the modern shows, although when I started Portal, we had this was 3 months before Discovery was announced, without a name or a format, but just announced that it was happening. Star Trek was coming back to small screen, episodic. This was all conceived 4 or 5 months before that. I was really into trying to preserve everything else before the years went by, including the original series. So I think partly mission accomplished. There's always more we can do, and there's always more folks out there. So that's why I do Portal 47, and that's why we have the open house every year on the anniversary, fall anniversary, with a really special guest. Although I would say they are all special. Not a month goes by that my jaw doesn't drop when we've got one of our guests on guest night. Anyway, that's why I'm always so big to thank our guests on the socials every month. But the other thing that I love doing is getting fans on their tours for Trekland Trek, setting this up with people, seeing what their favorites are, seeing what people love to do when they're on vacation, and helping them do their cosplay if they want to do that, helping them pick their 4 sites for the day, and making sure that it's an experience they're not bogged down messing with traffic or what's a crowd, what's been blown up, what's the common wisdom about going certain places. Helping people with all that kind of wisdom for their trek too. That's a thing. Also this week, we are back. Season 11 of the Trek Files. Our second episode is up with Luann Fortier. Who is that, you ask? Well, in the 70s paper and stamp fandom, William Shatner's Letter Exchange was basically one of his fan clubs for a while. Anyway, Luann has so many wonderful mementos and documents from the years when she was one of the major sources of Shatner news, which means that she was a major source of Star Trek news. And folks like Susan Sackett and folks like Shatner's family company knew to go to her and to their letter exchange. And if you say letter exchange, it's yes, not pen pals, but pen friend. Anyway, you have to listen to it. You have to listen to this week's The Trek Files, right? Wherever you get fine podcasts, it's The Trek Files on Facebook is where the documents are, though. All right. That's going to do it for me, but hold on. If you're watching us later on YouTube, I wish you could join us live on a Tuesday afternoon sometime. Be great if you could at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, and yes, 9 p.m. UK time and 10 Central Europe. But for right now, everybody who is here live with us, hang on. We're going to take a short break, and then we will dive into the chat. I'm not even going to look at the Parrot Analytics showing up on TV Geeks. I'm sure everything is down. We're just going to be in a few weeks here of no flash, no spiky ratings for a while. So we'll see what happens. All right. Look, gang, if you are leaving us right at the moment too, you can also find me at Larry Nemechek on Twitter /X. It's Larry Nemechek's Trekland, where you are right now. Have you liked and subscribed and shared and rang the bell and all the things on YouTube? It's also on Instagram as well. And yeah, Facebook. Okay. Portal47.net. If you want to check that out, your inside guide to more in-depth Trek is there also. That's where we are. If you are leaving us right now, hey, please. Might be a weird winter coming up. So stay healthy, do all the things. All right. Stay woke, check your sources, and trek well, everybody. All right, everybody. Yeah, we're not going to mess with parrots. Let's just get right into chat today. We'll see if we can keep this to half hour. I have much to do before tonight. So we will see what happens, but it's good to see everybody here and around the world. Don, I am sorry for your aunt passing. Thanks for sharing. Are we on? Well, that's okay. You know what, Christoph? Maybe this will be the week that more see us archived than see us live. I don't know. We'll see. Good to see everybody who did make it, though. Actual questions. Hey, Boat Trek. Or is that Boa Trek? I know you've been with us before. And I'm glad you're coming in from YouTube. Right. Yeah, the cage is amazing when you think about it. it's people today. I saw another debate online in a thread. Somebody was jumping up with a quick take about some original series Star Trek, maybe one of the pilots, and somebody else jumped up to berate them for not considering the context. And they got into a back and forth about, I don't care. I'm living where I am right now. And all I care about is what it means to me right now. And someone else was said, well, you wouldn't have anything else right now if it hadn't been for this in its time. You owed at least the respect of the context, which was what I'd agree. I mean, I understand both sides. You have to be aware and educated before you can appreciate a context. That's why we're here on our mission. And so many others are trying to bring the context of the times. Tell people who long ago decided that miniskirts were sexist that miniskirts were an act of feminist rebellion initially. Oh no, some old white dude isn't going to tell me what I can wear or not wear. And it was an act of, it was up there with bra burning in the feminist movement early in the 60s. So those are the kinds of things that get blurred over time, even. And it's good to have that and millions of other factoids kept alive so that we get it. And there's so many things that I don't even think about just from the TNG era that I realize newer fans don't realize. Oh, they did Cupid because there were 2 Robin Hood movies that year. Oh, I get it. See, that kind of thing. And that's simplistic. So, yes. Yeah. So yeah, Don, when I say rest in peace, Robert Butler, I'm like not just for his huge body of work and accomplishments, but also for the guy I was privileged to know just the last 5-6 years. And I don't mean know like we had dinner every week. I mean worked with and was able to get him out to more people and make him alive and use that living time machine portal to talk about 1964. The way we used to, the way I miss Dorothy. I was so spoiled by Dorothy Fontana until she passed right at the beginning of COVID. I was just spoiled. I want to know what I want my time machine right to 1965 or 66 or 67 or 73 or name the year. We were just spoiled, but privileged. So lucky and privileged to have her and to have Rob Butler and anyone else that we've been able to get to the modern era here. JR, this whole thing about the season 47, depending on how you count it, it's kind of funny. I admit it's a little odd. Do you count TAS and do you count shorts? Yeah. Let's see. Janeway and Chakotay in Star Trek Warp Lightning. Oh, Star Trek Warp Lighting. Warp Lightning. Yeah, I had a poll in this week's newsletter that totally bombed. I mean, not the answers, but the mechanics of it, the tech of it bombed. And nothing went into categories. So I appreciate everybody if you answered the poll this week. I can't make hides or tails out of the reactions, but this is the kind of thing I was asking, what people are excited about. Yeah, about what you're excited for the most coming up next. Yeah, and Aaron was trying to make the new Prodigy season, the next season, Prodigy versus Discovery, number 47. Hey, he's promoting his show, and he gets to be on a high because they're back. They are rescued from the abyss. So, oh, really? Doom, doom, doom. Doom, doom, doom. This is the NBC television network. Yes. Stephen Kandel wrote for MacGyver. He wrote for Mannix, original Wonder Woman, $6 Million Man, Cannon, and Barnaby Jones, and Banachek, and apparently MacGyver. Oh, he started with Sea Hunt. Oh my God, I remember that. Lloyd Bridges syndicated show. I was a little kid. I didn't get all this. Let's see. Actual questions, gang. Wow. Justin, has Glenn become that much of an icon on the complaint about the lack of notification? There we go. Twixer sounds like, yeah, let's not make anything about Elon's mess sexy right now, okay? Actual question. Can you provide the open house recording by Xmas this year, please? Asking for Rose and other friends. Yes, we're going to get on that. We will get on that, Christoph. And the ones that I still owe. Yes, absolutely. In fact, I got burned by not having Robert Butler's video posted. Just the audio only. Oh, hi, Adam. Okay. See who's here. See who else is here. Are people coming in later here? Let's see. Looking for real stuff, gang. But yes, Strange New World filming the Union pages from Canada have leaked or been posted. I want to say December 4th. Jess Bush is using social media to hunt for covered parking in Toronto or Toledo. Long commute though. Okay, well, I'm glad you were able to spend some time with us, Analysis. Yay. Okay, on this weird Wednesday day, absolutely. Okay. What are you saying here now, Christoph? P47 open house. Next time Dirk or Jason or someone else invites me over, we should really try a Euro midday open house, the con guest or the like. I'm up for that. I haven't had the chance. We were barely out of the gate, 2017? When I did something with, I was barely getting Portal started. So yes, would totally love to do some kind of an event. Go bomb them with requests or whatever. Hey, Dan, an actual question. Do you ever see it becoming the norm to refer to the site formerly known as Twitter as simply X? Wow. I don't know. What about you? What about you all? I just think right now people are all the news style is to say X, formerly known as Twitter. It's almost a joke, kind of like Prince's bit, the artist formerly known as Prince. But it's not, because who's X is such a stupid name to call something. It's like when Paramount called the first Kelvin movie Star Trek. I said, well, that's stupid. We'll never call it Star Trek. And now we call it Star Trek 09 because there was already a franchise and there's already a series named Star Trek. And it was sanity making enough in the old days in magazine style. Italics was the original series, Star Trek. And Star Trek, written just in Roman, straight up and down, meant the whole franchise as a whole, because that's the way people talk. And a lot of people say TOS to distinguish the original series from the franchise as a whole. But sometimes you do need to write Star Trek. And calling a movie just compounded that so stupidly. Everybody says ST09 or Star Trek 09. So I think people are going to, tweeting on Twitter was such a convenient little terminology, and it was so, pioneering 10 years ago, 15 years ago, that I don't know, Xing, what are we going to say? Xing, crossing? It's just so clunky and stupid. And I hope eventually when Elon tires of his little plaything, or he loses all his money or his shirt or whatever, that the new owner just reverts it back. What brand damage? How stupid. What are you saying here? What are you saying, JR? Even though there is no fresh Trek, the Trek Files I got to binge on the road over the weekend. Yay! Metal Yellow First Red. Lots of great behind the scenes. Metal Yellow First Red? What? I don't get it. Anyway, but you're very welcome. You're very welcome, JR. Pass that along to John Champion too. Behind the scenes, Metal Yellow First Red. Okay. Analysis. So this is what I mean, analysis. Is it true the episode Enterprise incident is based on a true event that happened to the U.S. Navy? Yeah, the Pueblo incident, U.S. and North Korea. Yes, absolutely. It throws me up to stop and remember that that's not about Star Trek. That's just about history and all that. It was a huge thing because I remember the TV movie that I've gone blank on his name. Excellent actor though, played Commander Booker, who was head of the Pueblo, the captain of the Pueblo. Somebody's gonna remind me here. Some warp by night, some warp by day. Warp flying strangers. Yeah, warp flighting. That's what you'd call it. We just met on the way. Oh, forget that. Okay. Okay. If I still think Prodigy was rescued, you should read an interview you did with David Mack on Warp Factor Trek about Prodigy. All right, Dan, we'll put that on the list. End of the shortest chat. Are we there? Are we there? Yeah, X most certainly does not mark the spot. Absolutely. At least there is space in front of SpaceX. Yes, it sounds like a 50s B movie, but at least it's there. X by itself is just, yeah. Mm-hmm. What do we have here? It was a metal icon, but I see it spells it out instead of showing it. Oh, okay. X just sounds like we couldn't think of anything better. Well, Christopher, Christian. I'm sorry, Christian. It's for years and years and years, the token TV commercials would have, the detergent or something would have brand X. As the thing that was never as good as your product. Right. What? Apologies for your voice to text might not be working as well. Oh, it's fine, Rose. It's fine. You're all good. You're all good. Ha ha ha, Dave. I wondered if you would catch. There you go. There you go. And we're here. Yeah, X will always be traitor to you. Yeah, and I think like 99% of the world, they may be pissed about what's happened to it, and they may be long for the days when it was a dependable platform that was monitored and administrated, and hopefully not descending into, fake news hell. And that's the polite thing to say. But we'll see. We'll see. Gang, I think that's going to do it. And that's just fine on a day like today. It's a weird Wednesday. It is, once again, it's the day of our open house tonight. So if you get yourself over here in the next hour to where, let me do that. Now I'll do that. And now I'll do that. There you go. Boom. It is my website /openhouse23. You can get over and still get a virtual ticket for tonight before I cut it off, so I can load up the hopper for the door prizes and things. So boom, there we go. And it's great. Oh, and I did that. Boom. I've never done that before. That's interesting. Anyway, thank you all so much for joining us again today on kind of an odd week. And it's going to be Thanksgiving next week in the States, but I'll be here on Tuesday. I do believe we're getting some really excellent Trek files coming up too in the future too. So again, maybe we'll see some of you tonight here in just a few hours for our open house with Nick. And don't forget, there is an hour of Ask Dr. Trek Roundtable at 6 Pacific before Nick is on at 7. That's 9 Eastern and then 10 Eastern. And don't forget, if you're headed this way, a Trekland Trek could be in your future. We'll work it out with you. Your own customized away mission. It's pretty cool. And please don't forget the Trek Files back on our 11th season. Some great guests coming up, some great moments. And yeah, bringing the context to understand what was up with Star Trek and its creatives and what and why. Check it out on our Facebook page where the documents are, or any place you get your podcast, or podcast.roddenberry.com. I know everybody is slowly coming back to life. Mission Log Live is going to be back. I think they have a special show on Thanksgiving before they return. Now that the actors' strike is settled, everything is cranking up. Yes, Strange New Worlds will be back first, at least early in December. Probably Section 31 not far behind, the 2-hour movie. We'll see if it turns into a backdoor pilot. Anyway, looking for you everywhere, whatever we're calling it, Twitter, X, Larry Nemechek. Hey, again, like and subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube or, Facebook, Instagram too as well, and portal47.net. That's the regular page, but if you can, join us tonight. There might be some surprises along with everything that we've got coming up. Everybody, thank you so much for being with us again on a Tuesday. Don't forget, I think this weekend is also a TeePublic sale at our store. The whole site of TeePublic has got the sale on, which includes the Trekland shop too. So if you want your own Trekland t-shirt and a Trekwell shirt or whatever, it's there for you. Or even have a kick with Cadet Alice. Hey, everybody, please stay healthy. Do all the things. And please stay woke and check the sources and don't get sucked in, would you? And Trek well, everybody.